edition of Tucker Carlson Tonight. You probably didn't see it live, not many people did. But last month, a former Republican member of Congress called Susan Molinari spoke at the Democratic National Convention. If you thought about it, it was an odd moment. Susan Molinari is a very nice person, actually. People who know her like her. But it wasn't really clear what she was doing speaking at the Democratic Convention. Most Democratic voters probably never have heard of Susan Molinari, and her whole speech lasted just a
his supporters to break the law and vote twice, and reportedly thinks members of the United States military are losers. Versus Biden, a man who rejects everything Trump stands for, especially his treatment of the military.
It's a fake story. I've done more for the military than almost anybody else.
This is sick. It is deplorable. It is so un-American. It is so unpatriotic.
People that are in the dark shadows and people that are controlling the streets. We had somebody get on a plane from a certain city this weekend, and in the plane it was almost completely loaded with thugs.
What in God's name are we doing? It's mortifying. It's embarrassing, and it's dangerous.
What you have to do is send in your early ballot and then go and make sure that ballot is tabulated or counted. And if it's not counted, vote.
He's a fraud.
The election comes down to who makes a better case for healing the country with more.
I mentioned earlier, and as I said, General Kelly's son Robert is buried there. Reading again from Goldberg's account, quote, Trump, while standing by Robert Kelly's grave, turned directly to his father and said, I don't get it. What was in it for them? Goldberg also reported, citing three sources, that when Senator John McCain died, he said, quote, we're not going to support that loser's funeral. The president last night tweeted that he never called the late senator a loser. Really? Keeping them honest, watch the tape.
I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, you know, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to him. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay?
He was 5 years in a Vietnamese prison, and he let others be released before him, though he was offered the chance. That's John McCain. Those were the president's words, though. Not a war hero, a loser. Again, he denied it last night. Today he did not.
I say what I say, and I never got along with John McCain. I disagreed with John McCain. You know that better than anybody, frankly. I wasn't a fan.
As for John Kelly, well, even as he denied allegations that he showed contempt for the troops, the president took an opportunity to show, quite publicly, and for the cameras, deliberate contempt for Kelly.
He didn't do a good job, had no temperament, and ultimately he was petered out. He was exhausted. This man was totally exhausted. He wasn't even able to function in the last number of months. He was not able to function. He was sort of a tough guy. By the time he got eaten up in this world, it's a different world than he was used to, he was unable to function.
As for the Atlantic story itself, the president called it a hoax. He called the Atlantic a second-rate magazine, then a third-rate magazine, and he took verbal swipes at Joe Biden, himself the father of a son who served, or as the president apparently would put it, father of a sucker.
If it's true, and based on other things he said, I believe the article is true. I'd ask you all a rhetorical question. How do you feel? How would you feel if you had a kid in Afghanistan right now? How would you feel if you lost a son, daughter, husband, wife? How would you feel, for real? I've just never been as disappointed in my whole career with a leader that I've worked with, president or otherwise, that if the article is true, and it appears to be based on other things he said, it is absolutely damnable. It is a disgrace.
CNN's Caitlin Collins is at the White House now with more. And Caitlin, you've seen it, I've seen it. This White House has denied a whole host of stories that have later proven to be true. Tell us how the White House is handling this controversy and how the president himself is handling it.
Well, what we saw yesterday is just how angry the president was over this, that you've never really seen the White House mobilize that quickly to deny a story in the fashion that we have seen play out over the last 24 hours, where they have gotten current and former officials to come forward and dispute the story, even culminating with the First Lady weighing in just a few moments ago, saying she believed this story was activism, not journalism, in a tweet that she posted to her account. And so you can see really the effort that they're putting behind this to deny it. But of course, what's notable when you look at that, Jim, is that the people who could deny it, who are pretty credible when it comes to the president and the military, have not said anything. And John Kelly is one of those, the former Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, Joe Dunford. There are several notable figures who have been silent over the last 24 hours, and I think that could really do a lot to change the trajectory of this story.
You covered this White House while John Kelly was serving as Chief of Staff. See the kind of person who at this point might take this moment to challenge the president here?
That's a big question that a lot of people are wondering. I don't think the president really did himself a service in the briefing earlier to keep John Kelly from coming forward and confirming the details of the story if he could. Of course, he hasn't weighed in either way, so we're not sure really what he would say. But it was interesting, you know, you saw the president going after him. And the president and John Kelly certainly had their bad moments when he was Chief of Staff. We reported at one point, right before John Kelly was removed as Chief of Staff, that they were not even on speaking terms. But the way the president spoke about him earlier, basically saying he was incompetent and couldn't live up to the pressure of the West Wing, is notable when you just consider what John Kelly has done. He is a retired four-star Marine general. He led Southcom. He has a son who, as you noted, died in Afghanistan. He's been through a lot, is my point. And so the way the president spoke about him, it is kind of hard to see how that would not garner a response from John Kelly.
We'll be watching. Caitlin Collins, thanks very much.
Aircraft goes down. Our country, this great country, goes to great lengths to bring back our fallen. And again, the reason that the American soldier does so well is he trusts the chain of command to do just that. Unfortunately, after what we've heard about this particular president, that's a hard sell to every drill sergeant trying to soldierize, trying to build a soldier out of every young man and woman who comes through our doors.
Retired Major General Paul Eaton, sir, it is a real honor to have you with us tonight. I know that, again, you have the choice whether or not to speak publicly on matters like this, and this was a big one. Thank you for helping us understand, and thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for what you do, Rachel.
Kind of you to say. All right. We've got a lot more coming up here this Friday night. In fact, I'm just going to stay on for 2 hours tonight. I have a lot to say. We'll be right back.
Than anybody, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has even been close.
And coming up, my opening monologue on Joe Biden's never-ending campaign of blunders. You don't want to miss this one. Next.
Unlike any other. On the trail, inside the 2020 primaries, tomorrow at 8 on CNN.